inner intelligence within us. That applies to the spiritual level, soul level, and also on the physical levels. But we don't really, most of the people don't look at it, don't look at the body from that perspective. And that's where the regenerative health can really help bridge the gap between the mind and body. Oftentimes, I see that in the spiritual community, because we are so focused, we have a deep commitment to our spiritual growth, and we oftentimes unintentionally overlooked the physical body. But if we all know that how this vehicle, how this temple is actually the way to our spiritual growth. And this is, I would like to remind you, hopefully through all these workshops, that we are applying the same principle to our physical body. And I love today's talk that our Reverend Manasa was talking about how our body is designed to renew and regenerate and self-repair if we apply those little steps on our daily life. And healing the body is actually the same thing, exactly the same thing. And so I want to remind you of a few principles in regenerative health. One is our body is designed to heal. They are designed to heal. So if we give it the right resource and the condition, the body will self-repair, renew, and regenerate. Okay. Under that premise, we will know that every symptoms that we are dealing with are actually the messages from the body. And the body is doing what it's supposed to do by compensating, re-regulating, buffering whatever imbalance that's already existing. In other words, our body is trying to find way back to the original state. And that's what regenerative health is about. It's about finding a way back to the healer within us. Because we are already created whole, complete, and perfect. The reason we cannot heal is because we're lacking the resource, or we're not having the right environment in the body that encourage the healing. Or the other piece is that because we live in the modern life where it's just so much distraction, so much noises, and so much burden on our body. And so our body is trying to catch up. But without knowing, what's the interferences, sometimes we just we don't know where to start our healing. And this is what the purpose of all these series of workshops try to fill the gap for. And hopefully at the end of the workshop, I would have, provide you with all the practical tips so that you can either manage, restore, or enhance your own healing ability. Now, in regenerative health sense, all imbalances, it doesn't matter what symptoms or diseases, it's all as a result of imbalanced terrain. Okay, this goes back to the unity principle. We are whole and complete and perfect to start with. And so how do we rebuild our body so that we can restore our own healing ability? Then the body will just rebuild and regenerate without problem. And that's that's the path we're gonna take. And when we do that, it doesn't matter what kind of diseases or symptoms we're dealing with, the body will just take care of it. And so this kind of make my job easier in a sense, because it doesn't matter what clients are struggling with, as long as I take care of the terrain. A terrain that's usually disease indicates that there's a lack of flow, right? And oftentimes, if we look at it from physical perspective, that means there's lacking nutrients. There's low oxygen to the cells. There's low voltage to the cells. And the body is overburdened with toxins or interferences. And once we address these areas, it doesn't matter what people are struggling with, the body start to coming up. It's all about, just imagine this, it's all about the total burden load or toxic load, if you will. So the body is designed to heal. So as long as you give it a little bit break, it will always try to heal and repair. Even just a little break, and then it can start doing the job. So what I would like to invite you to do is really, it's not about just overhaul everything overnight, but what we can do to incorporate into our everyday choices, that really makes a difference in the whole body's healing. It doesn't have to be a dramatic change. So if nothing else, I'm going to share a lot of strategies today, but if nothing else, like Reverend Melassa mentioned, if we go out every day to get sun exposure, if we are able to just put our feet on the ground, to ground it, to connect with the energy with the earth, or if we have fresh living water in our body, and if we eat fresh whole food, all these things can do a lot to us already, for us already. But I understand that, like I said, we are living in the era of time that where there's so much stress and so much environmental interferences, and there's so much demanding on our body, and oftentimes we need extra support. And I totally understand that. And so I will be share some resources with you because of that. But I want you to remember, there's so many free things that you can do before you seeking out outside support. All right, so, okay. So today, the metabolic issues, I think I want to first focus on the blood sugar, because that's kind of a entry point, or is the driving force of many metabolic diseases that we see in modern time. That's including diabetes, all forms of diabetes. That's including high blood pressure, cholesterol, peripheral neuropathy, obesity, PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome, or kidney disease, just cancer, of course. So in order to get that first step, well, I try to teach it from a preventive point of view, but if you are already dealing with some of these issues, I want you to know how you got to this point, and so that you can go back and reverse it. Because in order to help our body heal, sometimes we need to know how the body works, right? And so that you can have the tools to at least reverse some of the things that you may not be aware in the past that led you to the point now. So have you guys all heard about insulin resistance? Because that's kind of the underlying cause for all those metabolic diseases that I mentioned earlier. Insulin is a hormone that's made in our pancreas, and its function is to help to bring glucose into the cells. Okay, now insulin resistance means that the cells, for some reason, stop responding to it. And so the cells supposed to be open the door and then let the glucose in, but now it's not responding, so the door is not opened. Now all the glucose from the food that you eat that's in your bloodstream cannot get into the tissues, into the cells. And then all the glucose kind of just remain in the bloodstream, and that's when you see the blood sugar rise. But how did that go to, how do we from everything's supposed to be working properly and get the glucose into the cells to now the cells are resistant to insulin? There's a process. So I want to show you that. And so when you eat next time, or when you decide to take a cake, for example, after the service, what it's going to do to your body. Okay? Good? Sounds good? Okay, I'm going to show you this. If you look at the first handout, so insulin is like a key. And there's an insulin receptor on every cell. And that receptor works like a lock. So insulin's work is to put the key into the cell to unlock it so the glucose can get into the cell for energy, right? Now, if the insulin is resistant, the cell is resistant to insulin, that means the lock is blocked. The key cannot go in. So far, so good? You follow it? Okay, so in the Western medicine concept, they think that the reason that causes insulin resistance is because, oh, you were eating too much sugar, you're having too much processed food, you have too much high-fat food, which is all true, and then the insulin becomes just so desensitized, or the cell becomes so desensitized. They call it the receptor fatigue. Because you were asking me to open my door all the time, all day long, and then I just got so tired that I decided, no, I'm not gonna open the door for you. That's the Western medicine interpretation. Now, the modern discovery, though, there's more to it. It is true, that's part of the reason, but why your cells got desensitized? If we look at the body, how the body works, our body runs on glucose, the primary energy source for the body, okay? Why the body say, hey, I don't want that energy? It doesn't make sense. So there's studies, look at the insulin-resistant cells through MRI. They found that all those insulin-resistant cells are actually packed with fat, like a microscopic fat. And so in other words, the lock got jammed with all the fat. That's why the key, the insulin as a key, cannot plug in. It's not that the cells suddenly just got tired and lazy and I don't want to do the job. No, there's an actual obstruction there. They stop that cell to open up. Okay, so that's another concept. In regenerative health sense, 1, yes. 2, yes. And then the third reason, because the cells is so clogged up. It's not just the fat, there's toxins, there's microplastics, there's all sorts of stuff that kind of wrap around that cell so that the signaling on the cell receptor is compromised. Okay, so far so good? You follow? So now, look at the bottom image here. So when you are dealing with insulin resistance, as in the case of all the diabetic cases, or pre-diabetic cases, or even people who are not dealing with pre-diabetic stage yet, but people will have, I think so far like 40% of the people age 18 to 44 are dealing with insulin resistance. Now, that percentage will be higher for older age groups. And that's why the insulin resistance is a real issue that we all need to be aware of. And I'm gonna tell you how to see it or how to reverse it, in a sense. It's not just for maintaining or preventing the diabetes on the road, but it also helps reverse the disease state, okay? So, but look at the bottom picture here. This is the Western medicine model, right? When you have a high-carb diet, when you have a high-sugar diet or a high-fat diet, then the insulin got really, the pancreas got very busy producing the insulin. Whenever you eat, the sugar rise and the pancreas would just squirt out the insulin, try to bring down that glucose, right? Or try to get as much glucose into the cell as possible so that the blood sugar can be coming down. After a while, it got numbed and desensitized, and then now the energy cannot get into the cells, and so you will end up having like, I've been eating, but I'm still hungry, because the cells are not getting the energy that it's supposed to get from the food you eat. Okay, this is kind of a mechanism here. So you will create a vicious cycle because of that. Now, if you turn around the page, a lot of people think that if they are not pre-diabetic or diabetic, they don't have blood sugar issue. In reality is most people have blood sugar fluctuation issue. Okay, and I'm gonna tell you why this is, how the disease process starts. Okay, so for example, if you are eating a breakfast, like a sweet breakfast, you're having the baked good, and then on top of that, you smear it with a jam, sweet jam, and you have a cup of, orange juice, some kind of juice. That would guarantee your blood sugar would just spike, right? And when it spikes, it really just shoot out fast, okay? And how do you say that? And as much as the faster it shoots up, the faster it comes down. So very soon the blood sugar will plummet. And that's when you feel like, oh, the jittery, right? Or you will feel what we call hangry. You are hungry and you are angry because you're jittery the whole time. Yeah. It doesn't matter. If you have spike, you will have dip. These go together. If it spikes fast, it will plummet fast too. The goal is to really eating so that your blood sugar is rise. Really, you see the green line there? The green line? That's your goal. Because everything that we eat will promote the blood sugar rise. But we want it to rise slowly over time so it doesn't affect our energy level, like up and down, up and down. If you eat like this roller coaster thing, like the meal that I was describing earlier, you have that for breakfast, and then you have a big bowl of pasta for lunch without anything else. And then at dinner, you have, I don't know what else, another high carb or high protein, high fat meal. You end up your body just like your body's working so hard. At the end of the day, you feel like I don't do anything today, how come I'm so tired? Because the energy input and output is not stable. You want it to be stable throughout the day so that you can have any reserve for whatever text you are having, for the day. So if you look at the bottom line, bottom chart, this is how, when you look close up, when the blood sugar spike at the very top, it hits your pancreas. Because the speed of that blood sugar rise, the pancreas doesn't have enough time to respond. So, oh my God, the blood sugar is going up. What can I do? It just squirt out all the insulin all at once. Try to manage that blood sugar. Because the blood sugar, if it's too high in the blood, it's emergency to the body. Okay, the body has to manage it. So when it goes up like this, the pancreas, no, it's going up like that. So it's just like full speed of insulin release. Now, it doesn't have time to judge how many is actually enough to bring down the blood sugar. So it would become overshoot, and then that's why you created that plummet. Okay, now it's overshoot, now the blood sugar very soon dip to the very bottom. When you dip like that in a full speed, you kick your adrenals. Okay, so if you do the blood sugar right like this, you're eating like that, every day you kick your pancreas a few times, you kick your adrenals a few times. Over time, it just depends which organ is weaker. If your pancreas is weaker, you ended up having diabetes or pre-diabetes. Okay, if your adrenals are weaker, you will have adrenal fatigue. But either way, it's not good. It's the same problem, but ended up in different result. But eventually, these two conditions will all become diabetic, and it's very predictable. It's very predictable.
And stress can be impaired.
Yes, the stress is another issue. That's kind of in my case. I don't have eating issue, I don't have a diet issue, but because of the stress, I shared that because of my daughter's illness all those years, I really messed up my blood sugar regulation system because of the stress in me. And that over time, because when you are stressed, the body say, hey, I'm either running for life or I need to fight that tiger. And so what the body does is that I need to make it insulin resistant immediately so that all the energy stay in the bloodstream, and so that I can use that energy to my limbs to either run for life or fight for tiger. That's why stress will give you diabetes, it will make you diabetic as well. Okay, that's why you see a lot of people, like skinny people like me, why they're diabetic. And most people think that only people overweight will have diabetic, but it's not. Even the skinny people can do it. It's the same mechanism that's not having the stable blood sugar throughout the day.
Can people be born with diabetes?
The what?
Can people be born with diabetes? Because diabetes can be, detected in very, very young children.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't say it's born with it, even for type 1.
I'm saying type 1.
Yeah, type 1 usually, type 1 is autoimmune condition, which is different from type 2. Type 2 is pretty much caused by lifestyle, okay, lifestyle issue, and it can be very easily reversed, in my experience. But type 1, usually there's now, as we see more cases now, people often, when they are diagnosed with type 1, right before their diagnosis, there's always emotional upheaval going on. There's a special, like a dramatic event happens that affect their immune system. And then it just happened to be the pancreas is the weakest link in the body. And then that will become a type 1. So type 1, when we talked about the strategy, how to deal with or manage the blood sugar, it actually doesn't matter. Even if you are type 1 diabetic, all the strategy that we use for type 2 or type 1.5, they all work across the board. Yeah, but just knowing that type 1 is different, and a lot of times because type 1, the pancreas is so damaged to a degree that they cannot produce insulin or not enough insulin, oftentimes they probably will still require some insulin injection to some degree. But in my experience working with people, including type 1, they all can be cut down. The insulin dose can be cut down dramatically. And that's the goal for them. Yes?
Okay, so if you've had 50 years of blood sugar like this and stress for most of that time, has that damaged your bodies to the point that it can't be reversed, or can it still be reversed?
Yes, good question, great question. And I'm gonna tell you, this is where the magic happens. Human body is magical.
Okay.
Yeah, if you give it the right condition, it will heal. I've now learned a few cases now. It's not my clients, but other colleagues' clients, that they were sent to hospice. And one of them, the doctor said, you only have a few hours to live. But the family just, no, they don't want to stop trying. They said, no, we're not giving up. So they try something. And I'm telling you, those people ended up not just leaving the hospice unit. 4 or 5 months later, now they're still living, and they're thriving as time goes. Okay, so it doesn't matter how sick you are. Yeah, it's a matter of finding the right resource and the right path. And oftentimes, because we are so conditioned in a certain way of treating the disease, we're not necessarily healing the body by giving it the support that you need. We are all thinking about fighting that symptom, fighting that disease. And if we apply from unity principles, what's gonna happen? Whatever we're fighting? Yeah. So you whatever, yeah.
So because that conditioning is your belief system, and so you need to look at your belief system.
That's why you have to look at your body very differently. And that's why at the beginning I said that in regenerative health, you really look at the body as, for example, when you do your gratitude practice every day, do you say gratitude to your body? I mean, you are grateful for all the things, we all grateful for all the things, but have you taken a moment to express your gratitude to your body? Even if you think that your body, you're dealing with many physical symptoms now, but hey, your body is really holding the fort for you. And that's why you're still breathing, right? It's a lot of work, a lot of demands on the body to maintain it, to still keep us breathing, to keep us walking and all that. And so,
When I was at my endocrinologist, and I was talking to her about you and your, and she says, oh, diabetes can't be reduced.
yeah,
Once you have it, you have it.
Mm.
And, I see right away that belief system is so important
right,
in, the medical profession needs to change their
yeah,
system,
yeah,
to help people more.
yeah. Well, what about instead of them changing and you changing? You start from yourself.
I don't buy into the
Yeah.
belief system of
Yeah.
their belief system.
I'm not talking about specific you, but I'm talking about we. So, yeah, yeah,
That's changing, and I want to make a comment too, is that it may be from the point of view of the providers that we see, we give them grace because what they see every day in their offices is not what you just said. In other words, they're not seeing people taking whatever advice, doing lifestyle changes, and so to them, it may be this as impossible. Same with osteoporosis. My provider said, I've never seen it, I don't take the drugs. I reversed it on my own through strength training and proper protocols.
yeah,
No drugs, just
Yeah.
you can do it.
Yeah.
And but what do they see?
yeah.
What do they see?
w-
They're
right,
point of view.
right.
Well, we have to fight, we have to advocate for ourselves.
Exactly, yeah. We have to educate ourselves.
Advocate,
Yeah.
and,
Because I believe most doctors, their intention is to help their patients, really. But how they are trained is very different because they're focused on treating the symptoms. They're not necessarily help you heal. And so we, as patients, we really need to educate ourselves. And that's why I hope there's more people attending this workshop, right?
I've taken a couple classes, I'm taking classes to be an LUT, licensed UT teacher. And a couple of the classes I've already had over the past year and a half or so mentioned the way that Myrtle Fillmore healed herself. But right now I'm taking the history of the unity, which is kicking my butt because there's a lot of history involved, and a lot of compare and contrast and analyze and all that kind of stuff. But I'm really enjoying it because the last 2 weeks have been basically about Myrtle Fillmore's healing journey. And we read all of the healing letters and all of the things that she's written about how she did it. And it was exactly that. I talk to my body every day and tell every cell that I love it. And
Right.
she just loved it. And all kinds of things, but that was the basic thing, was to
Right.
talk to the body and
Yeah.
tell every cell in the body that you love them.
Mm-hmm.
And I started doing that with the
That's
first
great.
class, and I did it for a while, and it made a difference, and I quit because it's an everyday thing.
Yeah,
Every day.
yeah.
And so, and I started doing it again. The last 2 or 3 weeks, it's made a difference. Again, it's like this
Yeah.
is an everyday thing. It took her
Exactly, exactly. I mean, whatever we do, I think really is the consistency that really works. And we all know that we need to be in the nature more, we need to get our sun more, get the fresh air and all that, but do we do it or not? Because we are all so busy, right? And then life keeps lifing, dragging us with it. So we all have those human moments that we just simply don't get those basic self-care in every day, but we do as much as we can. You guys, if you are my Facebook friend, you know me doing life all the time and in my backyard, just having the sun exposure while barefooted on my yard to ground. And that's the simplest thing you can do. And if you make a commitment to do it every day, or at least 3-4 times a week, you feel the difference. You feel the difference because that earth energy just grounds you and then relax you right away. The study shows that if you ground 30 minutes a day, during the grounding, your blood sugar immediately dropped, your blood pressure immediately dropped, and then your cholesterol started melting away, because at the moment when we are in contact with the earth, our nervous system will be switched from sympathetic to parasympathetic right away, right in the moment, okay? But you have to do it every day so that the effect will accumulate, right? You're not...
Mats work as well?
The rounding work, I mean, it will work to some degree, but I personally found that actually it's still the best if you can be really outside. But I understand because it's getting colder, during the winter it's impossible for us to be out and then barefooted on the ground. But yes, the grounding mat will help too.
It is doable, though.
It is doable.
There's not that much snow in Indiana.
Yeah. Well, yes, you do your best. You do your best. But I don't want you to, just listen to your body. So, for example, if it's snowing outside and you force yourself out and you just free your butt to death, and then it probably create more stress than benefit. Yeah, yeah. So there are ways. I mean, there are tools available, and then I will share along the way. But let's go back to the blood sugar. So. The other thing, so if you understand this, I'm going to ask you, because this has been my mind for a long time, but I'm going to say it anyway. So after the service, if you have a piece of cake, what's going to do to your blood sugar?
Spike.
Especially when you're empty. And so I wish we can have a consensus that at the sacred space like this, we offer nourishment to our bodies instead of just cake. I mean, I know that it will, some people feel happy when they eat it. Yeah, but at the same time, you don't need this. I mean, you could do it some other time, but this is the place when we get together to nourish our body, our mind, our spirit, and I hope that we have that alignment piece in terms of the snack. And I don't know if anyone can bring this to the board, or it's gonna be, meeting resistance. I don't know, but I want you to be aware what it does to you, okay? But if you, instead having that piece of cake, you have fruits, what does the fruit does? So there's a myth I wanna talk about fruits and blood sugar. When people have fruits that spike their blood sugar, it's not the fault of the fruit, because this person is already dealing with insulin resistance or fatty liver. So fruits has become a scapegoat, yeah. So there is a correlation, but it's not causation. The fruit doesn't cause your blood sugar spike, but because your liver is so clogged up with fat that it cannot absorb that glucose. Again, because the key cannot put in, right? It's already clogged up. The lock is already clogged up. But if you avoid fruit, you'll end up not be able to clean up your body, clean up all those, stagnation, the fat in the body and all that. So I would invite you, the first thing I'm kind of just all over the place, but you can do the fruits the first half of the day, like at first in the morning, instead of having a, egg, bacon, and something that clogged up the liver even more. You can have fruit as a starting meal for you, because when we are resting throughout the night, our body tries to detox a lot. And so the first thing in the morning, if you can just kind of give it the boost by having fruits, it will continue with the detox. And then it will flush out the fat or flush out the toxins. Okay.
So I always heard that if you eat the whole fruit rather than drink a juice, the fruit has the fiber in it and it goes slow. It's slower than a
it will be slower, but if someone is already dealing with insulin resistance and diabetic state, they will still spike the blood sugar. But like I said, because the problem, the imbalance is already there. Okay,
But some fruits are better than other fruits on a diabetic diet.
that's true, but I would like you to just, just break the myth of diabetes cannot have fruits. This is not true.
Because berries are good.
Yeah, just like a low-carb diet, there's a lot of people using low-carb to manage the blood sugar, which is great initially. It is great because it really will bring down the blood sugar and then make people lose weight. But long-term, we start seeing all the collateral damage in my practice, and I'll explain it more later. Okay, but I just want you to know that there's a lot of things. The sugar or the starch, the carb is not the issue because, like I said, our body's primary energy source is carbon plus oxygen, and that's from the fruits, the carb from the fruits, from the vegetables, from the whole grain. But the reason the body cannot take it because the imbalance already happens. Okay, so what we try to do here is really try to, heal at the roots. So very important when you eat your fruit, though, eat it alone, not with fat. Not with fat. And if you are already dealing with a fatty liver or a diabetic situation, you will start slowly. Like you said, you start with those foods with lower GI index and the lower glycemic load as well. Okay, so it's very, the glycemic index is not the best indicator because it has to do with the glycemic load. For example, watermelon. Watermelon, when you eat it, it will very high, but because it has so much fiber and water in it, the glycemic load is low. And so initially, it will spike your blood sugar, but it cleans your liver, cleans your cell in a very efficient way. So you just have to stick with it. If you give it a few weeks, then you start to see your blood sugar just come down, just melting away, okay? And then you will see when you pee, if you pee into a jar in the morning, you will see those fats started showing, floating in your urine. And that's a sign that you're draining out the fat in your cells. Okay. Any questions so far? Is it easy to understand? Okay, so the key, how do you keep that line, the blood sugar rising line stable?
I reduce the foods that will spike and spike you.
Yes, that's initially yes. And then?
Balance with protein and fats.
Yes, that's a good strategy, especially to manage it if you are already dealing with it. But it's still a Band-Aid because you still cannot eat fruits, you still cannot eat carb without spiking that blood sugar, right? That's a hard lesson for me. I was on low-carb diet for a few years trying to deal with the blood sugar issue. And as soon as I started practicing regenerative health and started eating fruits and eating carb, and my blood sugar spiked, and I realized, the problem is never go away. I was just avoiding them. You're not really fixing the root cause. Okay, but it's a good strategy to start. And I'm gonna explain it more later. So I intend to have some meal pictures for you, but I ended up not having it. So can you tell me, if we can imagine there's a plate, dinner plate, what would be an ideal balanced meal in terms of blood sugar look like? What would you think would be a more balanced ratio? If you look at it from macro nutrient point of view.
Shoot an arrow. I'm not sure if this is right. There's all kinds of thought leadership, and it really depends on what your goals are and things, I think, from a health perspective. I'm going to say 40% carb, 30 protein or 35 protein, and like 35 fat. I'm not sure I got to 100, but something like that, or 30 fat. That would be my, so those are your macronutrients.
Yeah.
Those would be the calorie percentages.
Mm-hmm.
Not
Okay.
Not the volume, but
Right.
calorie percentages. That's what I would think about it.
Okay, calorie. So it's
No, I mean, if you were,
Okay.
In terms of 30%, if I say 35% protein, that means your plate, if you look at, if I'm gonna consume 500 calories, just making that up, that would be what that is.
Okay, all right.
Makes sense, or you
Okay.
can say it in your own terms.
Yeah, I think everyone is different, of course, there's bio-individuality there. But if we try to simplify things, if we look at the plate, now if you cut it into four, you quarter the plate, what would you put the things, the 3 micros or whatever, on the plate so that you have a balance? You know, without thinking about that calories.
You're looking right here, 50% veggies.
Okay, you're reading ahead. Yeah, that's how I give to most people, because like I said, most people are already dealing with the blood sugar fluctuation issue. Okay, so even if they haven't seen their numbers off, they're already dealing with this day in and day out without knowing it. Do you know that at least half of the diabetics didn't know they're diabetic when they're diagnosed? Because their fasting glucose in the past, up to this point, has been all normal. And why is it that way? Some of them even with the normal A1C, but they're diagnosed with diabetes. So this is I'm going to talk about next, because the measurement or the way that you measure the blood sugar is the single point is not reliable, because our blood sugar.
But he's supposed to be fasting.
Yeah, not just that. If you only look at the fasting, you don't know this whole meal, how that affects your blood sugar curve, right? Unless someone who is wearing the CGM, the continuous glucose meter, they get to see it in real time, right? Most people don't get to do that, or they're not aware. Okay, so I'm talking about fluctuation. So the correct way to measure your blood sugar is you take the measurement before meal, and then you take another 1 hour later, and then another 2 hours later, and another 3 hours later. If you do it for 3 days, you will see, you will have some idea of what kind of food will spike your blood sugar. Well, you just prick your fingers. Yeah, the glucose meter that's very cheap to get these days. You can just you just prick your fingers. Yeah, but you do. Yeah, there's a. Yeah. Yeah. So the problem with the conventional way, or your family doctor or endocrinology told you, oh, just test before the meal and then 2 hours after. There's a big pitfall there. That's why people, instead of preventing diabetes ahead of time, they didn't know because they missed the point. If you look back these curve again. So if someone who is testing the blood sugar, like before is the starting point, you understand that. But if the two hours later, it happened to be in the middle or the bottom of this line, you see that? The bottom of that, what do you call it, the brown, yellowish bar. And then if it happened to fall into the normal range, which is, for example, 140, within 140. And this person would think, oh, yes, perfect. But they missed the point. It actually will dip even further later, on the 3 hours later, right? They missed the point. And also, sometimes, if you see the next one, the high point here, this may be 1 hour after eating. It's not 2 hours, but it's 1 hour, but you missed that point. Because the ideal way of curve is that if you, the difference between the highest point and the lowest point, no more than 40 units. Because that's how you know this meal is very balanced. It will give you stabilized energy throughout the day. But if you only test those 2 points, 2 hours later, and then fasting, you miss all those points, and you thought that you were eating balanced and healthy, and you just keep doing all that, the roller coaster, without even knowing it. So this is the way to look at it, and this is what got most people diabetes without knowing it in the first place.
The worst meal for me is breakfast.
Right.
Because I wake up so hungry.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not really hungry much for the rest of the day, but breakfast is, and what do you eat for, I don't want to do vegetables for breakfast.
Well, the breakfast really set the tone for the day. If you having a roller coaster ride, the first meal in the day, you will end up catching it all day long. Because look at this. Okay, I have another one. Let me see if I have it. No, I don't have it here. So, but if you see this, if you have those meals, I don't know, what do you have for breakfast usually?
Oh, it just varies.
Give me some example.
Cereal with, like, I try to get something that doesn't have sugar added.
Mm-hmm.
Rice check or wheat check or, one of those health food.
Mm.
It's like a Cheerio, only it's
Mm.
by Cascade. And
It's processed from the box?
it's from the box.
Yeah, so they will spike your blood sugar.
Blueberries. So
Yeah.
it's not a high sugar content in the sugar.
Mm.
And then I have blueberries, and then I have milk.
Yeah. Well, I want to give you this concept that all carbohydrate eventually break down into sugar. Okay, especially processed food. If it's whole grain, if you make your old-fashioned oatmeal, that's different from the processed oatmeal from the store, from a box. The blood sugar effects will be very different.
Can you do cream of wheat?
Is it also?
Isn't cream of wheat or corn-based? Does anyone
No,
know?
it's wheat.
It's wheat?
It's wheat-based.
But you
But
have to
it's
worry about the
wheat.
wheat.
Yeah, you have to worry about the
So
wheat.
how about oats? Like oatmeal?
Just old-fashioned or steel-cut oat?
There is so many different opinions.
Yeah, I know it's confusing.
Because there are doctors that say, no, oatmeal's not good for you. And then the Ayurvedic,
Yes.
wheat.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like,
Yeah, I know. It's overwhelming. I understand that.
and there's grits,
Yeah.
that you could
Yeah. Well, what about this? The baseline is whole food, really. I mean, we're past the point of still discussing if this processed food is better than the other or not. We really just like no processed food, and especially if you are already dealing with, blood sugar issue. You really want to stick with the whole food, and there's not much room, really.
Well,
Yeah.
cream of wheat is a whole food.
Is it?
Processed.
It's been processed.
Processed.
Yeah. The whole food means in the real form, non-processed.
So I go out and get the wheat and grind it myself and,
No, you get to buy the steel cut wheat from the store or the whole kernel of wheat. Yeah. Yeah. That's a starting point. Or for example, I myself, I enjoy, if I having like this morning, I have a hot breakfast, I would have miso soup with my tofu in it, with all the vegetables in it. And then it's very satisfying. And sometimes I add eggs to it. So that's my way, but because I'm more like an Asian stomach. But for you, what would that look like? You have,
Kids don't know. That's why we're here in this class. And so why not vegetables?
yeah, why not vegetables? That's the
Right,
thing.
So I would say to you, why not vegetables? Why not? So I love to take a pan and cut up all sorts of root vegetables and carrots and potatoes, and I cook a giant one. And then I have it left over, I have it for breakfast if I don't want to.
Yeah.
well, I do have vegetables in an omelet. Like I could take mushrooms and
There you go.
onions and peppers.
Yeah.
And saute them up.
Yeah.
And then throw in an egg, but I also add cheese.
Mm. Hmm.
You know, I
It's definitely better, yeah, better than that cream of wheat, of course. Yes.
And yet the Ayurvedic diet says cream of wheat is really good.
Well, so which one works better for you? Eventually come down to,
Both.
both?
I mean, a variety.
Everything you can alternate and not have the same thing all the time. Then
Right.
it really wouldn't make that much difference.
Okay.
all right, we'll take the notes.
Yeah. Like I said, it depends on your goal. If your goal is to manage the blood sugar, whatever you have a balanced meal with your fiber, your fats, your protein, that's considered good to manage. But if you're talking about, hey, I'm done with diabetes, I want to reverse it, then you will need to go further, go deeper.
Blood sugars are 5.2 every 3 months, my A1Cs, which are really, really good.
No, I'm telling you, it's not fixing the root. So do you know what metformin does? So imagine that your blood sugar is all in your blood because you're insulin resistant. The cell wouldn't open the door to get the energy in. They stay in your bloodstream. What metformin does is it forces the cell to open the door, and so that it shovel in all the glucose, but you keep having all the extra glucose come in every single day, so you just keep stressing that system. So at some point, your A1C will start to climb, your metformin dose will continue to increase. So because it's not fixing the root cause. It just kind of, it's just sweeping the trash under the carpet. So how do you feel? Do you know? So it's just masking the symptom. So it give you, but yeah, metformin, the diabetic drug, yeah. Or the other drug, yeah.
Glipizide and Ozempic
Yeah, they all,
keeps me at 5.2 on my A1C.
and so it gives you the false sense of security.
Yeah, but I really do work on my diet as well.
Yeah, that's great.
I'm only halfway there because I'm changing, well, I'm 78, right? So I'm changing years and years and years of
Yeah.
pattern.
It's
Yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah, yeah,
You're raising your awareness by
Yeah.
going to this class.
yeah. It's about making progress. It's not about just perfection right away. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, so you're doing it. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, yeah,
The fast foods anymore.
yeah. That's great. Yeah, yeah. That's huge. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
I still, you know, it's the cravings that I deal with every day. I'm like a drug addict with bread.
And so you know why,
Yeah.
because the medicine, the drug doesn't really care the root cause, and that's why you still have all those issues to deal with. Yeah.
So the bread is, I mean, I could be an addict, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And the physiology of your body is trained towards that.
Yeah,
And so she's raising your awareness.
exactly, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Because it's more than just the blood sugar issue alone. Because when we are dealing with any imbalance, blood sugar is just on one aspect. But when your blood sugar is off, it's actually there's multi systems involved. It's never just the blood sugar. Yeah, yeah. The big three, they all come together. If you have one, eventually you deal with the other two. Okay, and that's why in regenerative health, when we, restore the body's innate healing ability, restore the terrain, all the things improve at once. All the markers improve all at once because the body knows how to heal. You just give it the right condition. Okay, instead of chasing the symptom, chasing the diagnosis, because the body doesn't work that way. Okay. Now I want to mention because the pitfall of measuring blood sugar, I want to show you there's a couple very important tests I would like you to be aware of. This is especially beneficial for those who are not having, who are insulin resistant but are not diabetic yet. Because this is very important. If every doctor ordered this test in our annual checkup, nobody would have been diagnosed with diabetes. Okay, this is called fasting insulin level. I don't know, any one of you have ever done this test before? No, it's not. Yeah, you have to request.
What's the other name? That's what it's called, is it?
Yeah, fasting insulin. Yeah, so request that in your lab when you do your blood work.
Not beyond, because they have these other ones, but they don't have this
Yeah, and you pay a little extra. I mean, the insurance, some insurance doesn't cover. I don't know now, maybe because there's more awareness, maybe they will start covering it. But if it's not covered, I've been doing it every year. It's not covered. It only took me like probably $30, 25, $30. Yeah, but that's so helpful because by the time you get to pre-diabetic or diabetic state, your insulin level is, like a 9 or 10. If you look at the number here, 5 to 8 is ideal. You get 9 to 23 pre-diabetic. If it's greater than 23, you are at the diabetic state. And then, but when I want to, just throw out these numbers here because even when you ask your doctor to do the test, they would come back with, oh, you are in normal range, it's 2 to 25. It's like a nothing. It doesn't say anything because that's the disease or non-disease range. But it's actually the problem. We always say that the issues is in the tissues. By the time the blood work showed imbalance, the issues is already in your cells and your tissue for a long, long time. So diabetes can be prevented if we do this fasting insulin level every year, and you know that, because it will take at least 20 years for someone to be insulin resistant to get to the diabetes state. And so this is a very, very beneficial. And even for people who are dealing with diabetes, you know that if you look at the insulin level, if it's going down, you know you are going towards the right direction. You are healing. Okay? Now the functional, the difference between functional and then the conventional normal range thing is, like I said, the normal lab range, we call it lab range because it's non-disease range. Those numbers are determined by all the people who go to the doctor's office every year, and then and then they come up with an average number. That's not a healthy number because those are all sick people. Okay, so we're looking at functional range. That's the range that your body are really are doing the things. The other number, I want you to do this fasting insulin because if you have that fasting insulin level, you get to calculate what we call the HOMA IR score. That will tell you how your cells are resistant to insulin. And if you look at the formula here, fasting glucose plus fasting insulin divided by 405, and that would tell you how resistant your cells are to insulin. And that's another prevention measure that you're supposed to know.
So the fasting glucose number is the one you do get? Is that one of these?
The fasting glucose is the one that come with the routine checkup. It's already covered. Yeah. That's the one. That's the kind of a, only usually the doctors only pay attention to these numbers, fasting number or the A1C, but they don't tell you how to prevent it. They don't tell you how to prevent the diabetes, even long before it start. Yeah. Yep. Okay. Do we have enough time now? What time is it?
Almost 1 o'clock.
Okay.
So I really love your strategies.
Okay, yes. So let's get to the strategy. Where is it? Do I have a strategy? Copy. Yes. So this is like if you are not insulin resistant or if you are not pre-diabetic, this is a good strategy to do it and to at least maintain the stabilized energy state throughout the day. But remember though, there are other factors involved in terms of making your insulin resistant. And that is including your gut health, your toxic load. So that's why I want you to monitor your fasting insulin level and the HOMA IR score. So if you see that number is creeping up, you know you have to do a little bit more than just keeping the balanced diet. Okay, that's including you need to incorporate exercise. For example, the chair are going to show us how to do it to manage or to help enhance our metabolic health, how to move in a certain way. Okay, or you have to pay attention to the environmental toxins, or you get your suns more, because when you get into the natural parasympathetic state, that's the body start to heal. And all those little things help. So the strategies, one, the eating order matters, okay? We want to have, if you like empty stomach and having a piece of cake, it's just poof, rush up and then plummet later, right? So we want that pancreas have enough time to judge, how many units of insulin that I need to release, just enough to keep the blood sugar down, but not spiking and then plummet, right? So you always eat something with fiber first, and then follow with the protein, because these two won't spike your blood sugar. So you leave your carb toward the end of the meal.
So when you say protein, I looked ahead on this list of goods.
What's the
Are any
protein?
of these good foods protein?
Oh yeah, protein,
Legumes, beans,
yeah, those are proteins.
and what else?
Well, if you're still eating meat, then it will be your meat, seafood, those are protein.
That's bad.
Well, because this, I haven't gotten to it. This is designed to reverse diabetes, reverse. Okay, but if you are not in a diabetic stage and you still eating those animal food, you can incorporate it into your meal. But this one, the final page, is really for those of you who are really serious. You want to reverse your diabetes, not just diabetes, it's all kind of chronic conditions, and it would help. Okay, the second, yeah,
Eating strategies, the reason you start with the salad is because
the fiber, it will kind of buffer,
you have the salad.
you buffer that blood sugar rise, right?
Put clothes on your carbs. That's a clothing.
Yeah, yeah.
First layer of clothing on.
So the second, if you read through it, so there's always something buffer that blood sugar rise, right? Is that how you eat, or is that a new thing to you, any one of you, that you never thought about eating order before? You never heard?
Glucose goddess, I've seen these things before, not all of them, but these are really good. It's a good reminder.
Yeah, it's.
First of all, to have those things on your plate, so that would be number one, right?
Mm-hmm.
Have them on your plate, and then how you eat them. And she'll even say she's very good, and I think you guys are pretty aligned. And she'll say, eat your salad first, you get your then you eat your protein. Now you put the buffer before you let that. Then the sugar or the carbs, I should say, healthy carbs.
Mm-hmm.
They're not going
Yeah.
to spike right away because they've
Yeah.
got all these other things involved.
Right, yeah. So again, it's about that, giving enough time for your pancreas to decide how much units of insulin is needed so that it doesn't overshoot and cause a plummet later, okay? Now the number 2 and 3, 2 actually, you see the ratio of your plate there, and that's a starting point. So everyone, it doesn't matter if you're dealing with any diagnosis, you're supposed to have at least half plate of vegetables. That's pretty much the guarantee for all the, to maintain healthy across the board, okay? And if you are not there yet, just work your way up. And then the vinegar or any acid, like a lemon juice, will work the same. If you have those before meal or in the middle of the meal as in the form of salad dressing, that would slow down the blood sugar rise as well.
That's why you have the hot lemon water in the morning.
Yeah, that one, yes, yeah. And that one is also for detox purpose. It can kind of scrape through your gut. I'm talking about every single meal. If you are dealing with the diabetic state already, That's a good practice for you to do it every single meal. Like 30 minutes before your meal, you have a cup of water with apple cider vinegar in it. Well, don't drink a whole cup. You can do like a 1/3 cup of the water with 1 teaspoon of the apple cider vinegar.
How's that taste?
Sour? Yeah. But the reason is you want to prepare your stomach because most of the people, especially we past certain age, we don't produce enough stomach acid. And if you're dealing with a chronic condition, you're definitely, your gut is not working properly. And so that kind of just extra support. But those are all Band-Aids. A good one that doesn't produce negative effects. In the regenerative health, we always we work on the root cause, and so that you don't even need that, digestive enzyme support or that, vinegar water support. Okay, now move after meal. Chara would show us later how to move because it is very important that you are moving after a meal because all the extra sugar in the blood has to go somewhere. Otherwise, they will get packed into your cells. Do you know that how much sugar in the whole system, in your whole volume of blood, will be tested under 100? Do you know how much is sugar? In order to test 100 milligram per deciliter in your fasting glucose or any time before meal glucose, it only takes 1 teaspoon of sugar in your blood. So imagine that's a piece of cake or a big bowl of pasta, how much sugar is in the blood that the pancreas, the liver has to process and metabolize. So it doesn't really take much. And I mean, the body is designed to process all that, but if we do this day in, day out, year in, year out for decades, and then eventually the system is going to be kind of exhausted to some degree, especially there's other factors involved, the toxins and all that. Okay, so, yeah, if you go through those strategies, do you have any questions specifically?
What does that mean, savory?
Savory means salty. Instead of the sweet food.
The only thing I can think of that's salty is pretzels,
Yeah,
spicy.
Potato chips, mixed nuts, it can be
No, but what about whole food source?
Oh, like nuts?
celery.
Celery, hummus with the cut veggies.
Something that's not sweet.
Yeah, I know it's so hard for people in this country because there's so many processed food, right? And so it's almost like a new concept for some people that, there's other food choices around. Yeah, it's hard. Yeah, so there's a lot of undoing to do.
It's easy too. Processed food's really easy. Like a bag of pretzels or.
Yeah,
It's a
yeah,
lot easier than
yeah.
fresh celery.
yeah. Well, but it's about building that habit. Yeah, once it become a habit, you will naturally go there without any problem. Yeah.
Also, when you shift, at least in my experience, because I was a sugar, I thought I was eating healthy, and so much sugar, so much is crap. And yes, went through the painful detox of a week of just none of this, processed stuff. I didn't eat too much, but I had enough, and I felt it. And then all of a sudden, over time, it's like I crave a salad. When I was in Ireland,
Yeah.
I didn't have a lot of salad. Like, I just can't wait to have a giant salad. I can't wait
Yep.
to have. Do the hacks in the morning. Chop up a bunch of veg, stick them in the
Yeah, it's all about prep ahead of time.
You have to, and you're doing it because does this serve me or does it harm me? It's that mindset. What is the best thing for me?
Yeah.
It's not the crackers that my husband buys.
So this is the point this is the point where we really bring the unity principle back and apply to our physical body, right? If you love your body fully, if we can treat our physical body like we treat our soul or our spirit, then our body will be more in line with the spirit. Because mind and body are not separable. There's no way. There's no way. And then by taking care of our body, we get to speed up our spiritual growth as well. Right?
I rearranged my kitchen. I got it
Great.
all organized and a new piece of furniture in there to hold, I don't have a pantry
Mm-hmm.
to hold food. And so that everything's more accessible and easy
Mm-hmm.
rather than to just grab something processed.
Great. Yeah, I think it's about really prep ahead. You know, if you just move away all those processed, boxed food, and then you replace it with all the whole food, you don't have choice but to stay with the whole food. And then as you do it more and more, and your body will crave it. We talked about gut health in the last workshop, and the reason, because once you start making those changes, you start changing your microbes in your gut. Those bacteria, they would demand food from you. If you are eating mostly processed food, a lot of sugar, they would demand those because you will cultivate those kind of bacteria in your gut. But if you start eating more fruits, more vegetables, you will change all those composition of the bacteria, and then they will ask more of those foods. So it's not just about your mind or about your craving. Your craving, actually, the gut dictates most part of it. So when you say that, oh yeah, I still have those craving, and I know, because I work with people a lot with craving issues, oftentimes it's because of the bacteria, because of the parasites too. Okay. Yes, I think you have.
Well, it was just interesting to me because for several years now, actually, I have rejected buying, Twinkies and ice cream and stuff with my regular grocery items. It's like, if I want them badly enough, I'll make a special trip to go get them.
Mm-hmm.
There have been times that I had the cravings, and it's like, no, I'm not gonna do it, after 3 or 4 hours of it, it's like, okay, I'm going to the grocery store, and I'll go get that one thing. But, right before I went to Posse's, the end of September, I made a commitment that, I'm not going to do that at all, and that I'm gonna do specific things to stay on this. And it's not really a diet, but I changed my way of eating back
Yeah.
to where it should be, type of thing.
Yeah.
And I have not had any cravings.
Yay.
But somebody gave me a Twinkie, well, not a Twinkie, but a Hostess, one of my daughters gave me a Hostess cupcake the other day, and it almost made me sick to eat it.
Yes.
I was like,
So your body's changing.
If you put a Twinkie in your cabinet,
oh, I know.
a year later, you could still eat it.
I know. And
That's
this
why.
was-
Honestly though,
Yeah. So
The first 2 bites were just,
same
oh my
with
God,
Cheetos.
this is good.
yeah.
I almost couldn't eat the whole thing because it was just, it tasted bad after.
Right.
They don't
It's like,
disintegrate.
yes.
Cheetos last forever. We used to have a Cheeto festival where we made long stem Cheeto roses, and they lasted for years and years and years.
So
The Cheetos.
when I work with clients who really want to make changes,
Mm-hmm.
they usually start out with, I hate my body, I'm angry with my body. And I try to help them to see, but your body is just trying to do whatever you're giving it. Like, it's just trying to, oh, that Dorito, okay, well, all right, I'll find some place for it. Or that kind of alcohol, okay, well, my liver will, it's just trying to deal with whatever you are doing.
Exactly.
And so
Yeah.
making peace with your body is learning to love it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
not hate it.
Yeah.
Because
That-
it's doing whatever you
Yeah.
demand of it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's responding. Yeah.
It really is the first
Yeah.
step.
Yeah. So yeah, let me go to the last part of this chart, and so that Chiu can show us the movement. So this, like I said, this is a mat if you are interested in reversing your diabetes already. I'm going to tell you a story. So about 2 years ago, a friend of mine who is a breast cancer survivor, and she was in her mid-60s, and she was dealing with all kinds of arthritis pain. So she reached out to me. She said, "Hey, I think I'm ready. I need your help. I want to do detox, and because I have so much pain." And then she said, "Well, my husband is, dealing with type 2 diabetes, so he needs help too. So both of us gonna do your detox program." And she said, well, but we are going to a cruise next week and for 17 days, so I won't be able to do it until we can come back. I said, sure, have a good time. And then she came back, and I didn't hear from her. So I contacted her. I said, hey, you're back. How was your trip? Are you ready to start your healing journey? And she said, you know what? I came back from the cruise, no pain. All the pain were gone. My husband become non-diabetic. I said, oh, so what did you do? He said, well, because we went to a vegan cruise. Just within 2 weeks, 17 days, turned out that cruise was led by a very famous doctor, Dr. Neil Bernard, who is advocating pretty much this diet. Okay? And then so I lost 2 clients because of that.
So what, are you saying that you only eat in the green, or you just?
Yes, you eat in the green the majority of the food, and then you have the yellow food occasionally, not an everyday thing, and you basically eliminate all the animal food. The reason, again, this is for if you try to reverse all your chronic conditions, okay, including diabetes. But if you are healthy, you don't have that issue, of course, you get to enjoy animal food here and there. But why you don't want to eat animal if you're already dealing with all the chronic conditions? I'm going to tell you from a regenerative health point of view, because all the animal foods are very acid forming, and then they create inflammation. But all chronic diseases, the underlying cause of every single one of them, including cancer, is inflammation. So when you are already dealing with those conditions, you really don't want to add more source that create inflammation. So as what we always say, you want to turn off the faucet before you mop the flooded floor. If you keep adding those, pro-inflammatory food, you just keep adding the oil to it, the fuel to the fire. And that's why we want you to temporarily, if you are healing, you really want to remove that. And this is what I do in regenerative health too, because in order to get you to kind of jumpstart you and then give you a solid foundation. After you healed, of course, you can occasionally enjoy seafood, animal, or meat here and there, but it's not supposed to be an everyday thing, given that how much demands that our body are dealing with these days. It used to be not an issue. If we are all living outside, we sleep or we work according to the circadian rhythm, we don't have so much environmental toxins, then people in the past, they ate animal food or meat without even any problem. But these days, because there's so much challenge in the body, and so now there are things we don't have control, but there are things we do, and which is the food that we eat. And that's why we will temporarily remove you out of it, okay? It's not that you cannot have it for the rest of your life, but if you add it in, what's the effect? And the other piece is because how the animals are raised these days. It's just simply different. They create different biochemical responses in the body. It's just another sad reality. Yes, question? Organics, definitely. Organic, and then regeneratively farmed or grown.
Because I eat salmon, but it has to be wild salmon.
Yeah, that's great. That's definitely, a step up from just eating conventionally color-added farming. Yeah.
That was the staple.
Yeah, but the question I have for you is, how does it do so far for you? If you are eating the same food and you're still dealing with the same issue, then there's more room
Because there's
to go.
other stuff.
Yeah,
I'm an egg person too, so.
yeah,
It'd be hard to
yeah.
give up eggs.
Just give it a try for 2 weeks and then see how you do.
Yeah, I'm allergic
Yeah,
to eggs.
yeah,
I live life without eggs.
yeah,
I have
Yeah.
a real good quality egg, but.
yeah. Yeah, but they're unfortunately, when you are dealing with inflammation, it just add more. Yeah. Yeah. Just try it even for a week and see how your body knows. Okay, well, like I said, my client, they were like 1 week without animal birth, like all of a sudden the pain all went away. Now they're convinced to continue, you know. But like I said, it all depends on your goal. Okay, Cheryl, you want to show us?
So one of the key things, I'm going to do this based on your level and your comfort, of course. So you do you. The one thing that I'm super passionate about is keeping people moving, because that's another key pillar of health. And Peilin's done an excellent job of course, talking about how we eat and other environmental things that we're doing. But another key pillar to health is moving. So I'm a former corporate person for 36 years, turned personal trainer at the YMCA. And I enjoy it thoroughly. It's probably the most fun work I ever do. But I work with people all the time and helping them to regain their strength, not only their heart health, but also their muscular health. Because muscle is an important organ in the body. And why is that? Peilin just explained. Because when you move, you suck up that glucose out of your bloodstream and into the cells. One key way to move is right after you eat, right? So I don't know if anyone practices. Does anyone go for a walk after a meal? Excellent, excellent. Studies will say.
I have back issues.
So there's other things we can do to move, right? That's not the only way we can move. But if you can move after a meal, that's ideal, particularly even as small as a 10-minute walk after each meal, major meal, and within 90 minutes is ideal. My husband and I have the habit, well, I walk all the time, but after dinner, do a quick dish thing, we're out the door. And when it gets dark and cold, we're out the door even earlier. Basically do the dishes after. So, very good habit to get into. What are some other ways we can move? So, walking is one that's pretty free, mostly accessible, easy to do, and if it's cold, we put on our coats. We just, let's get the discipline going, the consistency, and forget the excuses unless it's a medical issue. What are some other things we can do if we're seated or if we're
Chair yoga.
Chair yoga. Another thing we can do is get up and down out of our chair. Okay? So these would be a squat. It's like this. And if you need some assistance, you do it that way. Anyone want to try? And this is a good thing to practice. I always practice with my clients the key functional moves if you can, because we all want to be able to go to Brown County State Park and hover over the body, right?
Over that.
Do not want to
Yeah.
sit on that outhouse.
Yeah.
Functional, right? What's another key thing that we need to be able to do? And this may be challenging for some, but we need to be able to go up and down stairs, right? Up and down stairs. Or just doing step-ups like this. Just stepping up and down, or obviously, I'm not going to put my back to you, but just stepping up and stepping down. And if you're not using stairs, sometimes we don't have them. If you can, I advise you, take the stairs if you can. You may have to build up to it. Maybe it's a short step of stairs and we get to it, because we need to be able to do that in our
So
daily
when
life.
we talk about downsizing, because we want to get away from our stairs.
Yeah, that actually is not a bad it's not actually the best strategy, and we just did that. So we have one step into our house, but I tell you, I have an elderly dog, and I'm glad we just have one step with her, because in our old house, so a lot of people keep their homes with the stairs. Okay, what's something else we can do? What about with our arms, okay? If you feel like you need to sit, let's take those arms overhead, and let's lean over to the, whatever this is, the right, to the left, and then kind of lean them back a little bit. Again, do what you can do, don't overdo, okay? Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know. Obviously, you know your body. If you're comfortable standing, let's do some arm circles, right? We're just gonna go gently backwards, like this, and then go ahead and bring those forward. And then while we're standing, if it's comfortable for you, you can just kind of bend your body forward with your head up, and then bend it back, and then side to side. Good. And let's do that one more time. I call this back 360 all around the world. So we're going to bend forward. Good. To the side. 10 minutes is the minimum to try, sometimes even 5, just 10 minutes of movement. That could be getting up and putting the dishes away, and we're moving through the kitchen, or maybe it's grabbing the laundry basket and bringing it into the room, moving, hold. I always try to get a target of steps every day. Sometimes I'm doing that inside if it's not comfortable. So ideally, if you're able, the most accessible and most easiest thing to do is literally get up and go for a 10-minute walk after a meal or more.
Yeah.
Sometimes
So
you're
that
out
also
with a neighbor.
increases dopamine, feel-good
Absolutely.
neurochemicals
Yes.
for the mind.
Yeah.
As long as
Yeah.
you're
Moving your
Yeah.
bilaterally.
Yeah.
All right, that's it, Peilin.
All right, great, thank you. Yeah, or sometimes if it's not possible, like if on a raining day you cannot go out, I mean, there are things you can do. If you are watching something on the TV or on your iPad, you could just get up and do this. I do this a lot. It's just swinging away. It doesn't matter what you do. If you don't remember anything that Chara just showed, you just do however way you feel comfortable.
One shoulder down.
Yeah, or I do this a lot, jogging in place. I jog in place, okay, without raising the toes, because this will really pump in your energy level. Because there's a kidney meridian, the first point, right under your sole. This is very good for energy flow.
Those shoes are so cute.
Thank you. Yeah,
That's
the
adorable.
cowgirl boots cut open. That's what I said. Yeah.
Even just calf raises.
Yeah, exactly.
Your toes.
Yes.
Your calf muscles are glucose hungry.
Yes.
They love it. Those calf muscles, for some reason, just want
Yeah.
more glucose.
So there's so many creative ways to move.
If you're comfortable on the floor, there's dozens of other exercises you can do with glute bridges and just different type of yoga moves and stretches just to move the body.
I do that first thing in the morning. Should I wait and do it after?
No, do more then.